What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thrive My Nutrition podcast. So excited to have you guys here for another episode of the podcast. Um, Honestly, man, things are very, very, very crazy in the world right now. With the coronavirus just completely blowing up in the United States, around the world over these past, honestly, just like 2 weeks. Like it was pretty bad before, the past couple of months, but it seems like it's just grown exponentially over the past 2 weeks with schools closing down, restaurants closing down, bars closing down. Um, Basically everything closing down other than grocery stores and hospitals. I mean, you try to go anywhere, and it's likely closed or very, very reduced hours. People aren't able to go to work. It's honestly absolutely insane. I know when this thing was coming up and getting more, I guess, spreading more. There are people who were really concerned about it, and then there's other people on the other end who thought that it was just like the flu and it wasn't a big deal and they were overreacting. And now, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not a scientist. I'm not an infectious disease expert. Like, I don't know a whole lot about this. But what I do know is it's just crazy the amount of impact it's had already on our lives and all aspects of our lives, not even with our health, but with our relationships, our jobs, our careers, our schooling. It's just incredible. And it's crazy how something, um, so, I guess, small, something we can't even see, has impacted us so greatly. So, my thoughts on the whole situation is it's just, I don't know. It's just mind blowing, and it feels very surreal, which I'm sure a lot of you guys can probably relate to. This whole situation just doesn't honestly seem that real. It seems like it's kind of like a dream. Like it's crazy, but um, yeah. So for me personally, I've actually haven't gone into my internship the past couple of days because they actually have a very, very low amount of patients in there right now because they basically canceled all of their elective surgeries. So non necessary surgeries are canceled. So they have a lot less patients coming in. And I'm sure there's a lot less patients coming in for things that aren't really that serious just because they don't want to be in the hospital environment and go out and possibly get this virus. Um, and it doesn't seem like the hospital that I was at has gotten a big stream of people coming in with this virus. So it hasn't really hit them yet. If it will eventually hit them, I'm not really sure. But they basically just gave me stuff to work on at home for the past couple of days, just because they thought it was pointless for me to drive so far to go there when there were only a couple patients I would maybe see during the day. So that's where we're at right now. But I know a lot of other internships. The students aren't allowed to go in there. The hospitals have said that students have to stay home. They haven't said that for where I'm at right now. Hopefully they don't. But who knows what's going to happen when things pick up there if they do. So yeah, just hoping for the best, definitely. But I wanted to make this podcast and give you guys some ideas on how to approach your training and nutrition and your mindset while you're at home during this whole situation. Um, Hopefully, the situation isn't going to last much longer, despite what um, I feel like I'm seeing from doctors and things online. It seems like it's going to go on for a while, but hopefully we can tame it down a little bit to where we can at least get back to a pretty semi-normal life and handle it that way. So first things first, we're going to start off with training. So I know a lot of gyms are closed, unfortunately, and people aren't able to do the same workouts that they were doing before, which really sucks, especially for myself, because I love training in a powerlifting style. I love training heavy compound movements, squat, bench, deadlift, Romanian deadlifts. Um, but I'm not able to do those anymore because obviously the gym's closed. So it's very frustrating because being, I would consider myself more of a power lifter. Uh, you can't really progress in powerlifting movements without actually doing the powerlifting movements, especially if you're going to be away from them for a very long time. But what we can do is we can still maintain our overall health, maintain our overall fitness level, even while we are working out at home. It doesn't mean we have to lay on the couch and think that we are going to lose all the progress that we just made. You definitely have options, and you just have to take advantage of the situation and try to find every little bit that you can to make the most out of it. So I'm going to give you some training tips to make your at-home workouts a little more effective. um, you know I'm sure you've probably seen thousands of these posts online by personal trainers, other fitness coaches, all over the place. And I know a lot of people are doing like live workouts in Facebook groups for people who normally work out at their gym, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's awesome that people are doing that, allowing people to be more active, especially when you're stuck at home and you aren't able to go to work, so you're just sitting there doing nothing anyway. Um, but hopefully these tips kind of help, and maybe some of them are kind of new to you, or maybe you haven't seen those posts. And my podcast is the first source that you're hearing these from. So first things first, we're going to start out with the first tip, which is um, find any kind of resistance that you can. This is extremely important if you're somebody who regularly resistance trains or lifts in the gym. You want to build muscle, you want to maintain muscle, you want to build your physique. You want to try to find any kind of resistance that you can. This could even be just like a book bag you put on your back. This could be a book bag maybe you wear in the front and you do like front squats with it. Maybe it's just a bag. um, if you really want to, you can use like a milk jug or something to do curls with. um, Hopefully you have even some kind of set of dumbbells or resistance bands, and you could um, jimmy rig it some way to add more resistance and do more exercises, because um, having that resistance is so important, especially if you're past the beginner stage and you're more in the intermediate or advanced stage, because you're just going to need more stimulus in order to stimulate the muscle properly. You're like, if you can do 50 push-ups, like you can do 50 push-ups every single set, but it's going to be a lot easier if you can add some weight to it and hit maybe the 10 to 15 to 20ish rep range with those push-ups. Same thing for body weight squats. Like if you can do 200 body weight squats, that's not going to be very great for hypertrophy or building muscle. So if you can find any kind of resistance to make those harder, to where maybe even if you get in like the 30 rep range, that's still better for building muscle than it is if you're doing 100 or 200 body weight squats. Now you can do 100 and 200 body weight squats and get a great workout. Improve your cardiovascular fitness. You can, be healthy. Absolutely, you can definitely initiate fat loss that way too. But if your main goal is building muscle or building strength, you want to be able to add some kind of resistance for sure. The next tip is to reduce rest periods for your sets. So normally in the gym, we're probably resting 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes if we're doing like a heavy powerlifting movement. If we're doing a normal lifting movement, hopefully we're resting around 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half at um, the quickest. But when you're at home, you're using less overall load, so your whole body systemically isn't going to be as fatigued after each set. So one, you're able to just rest less and still perform good on your next set because you're not using as much weight, you're not fatiguing yourself as much. And number two, it's going to be a little better because then you'll be able to have more hard reps or more reps that are closer to failure, which is going to be the next tip. Um, you want to be able to go as close to failure as you can, if not hit failure, basically on every single set. Now, in the gym, especially if you're a powerlifter, you definitely don't want to be doing this every single set because you're going to wear yourself out. You're going to increase your risk of injury. You're going to fatigue yourself way too fast. And if you go to failure in every single set in the gym with heavy compound movements, you're going to be able to do less work total for your workout. But at home, you're using very little weight, so the risk of injury is a lot lower. Um, And like I said, you're using just overall less load, so you're able to recover better. So your next set doesn't take as big of a hit, even if you do go to failure on the first one. And you want to um, make sure you're getting as many close to failure or effective reps as possible. One thing you can implement is what's called mile reps, which is basically where you do a set to close to failure or pretty much to failure. Um, Ideally in the gym you're doing this maybe in the 15 to 20 rep range, but if you are at home and if you go higher than that rep range, that's completely fine. But you want to go to failure on your first set and then only rest maybe 5 to 10 seconds and then go back into it, and then go to failure. And you'll like, let's say if you're able to get 20 reps on the first set, you rest 5 to 10 seconds, you go into the next set, and you're probably only going to be able to do maybe 5 to 10 reps somewhere in there on the second set. Then you rest another 5 to 10 seconds. You do it again. Maybe you get maybe 6 reps, rest 5 to 10 seconds, do it again. And you do that, and maybe you do like one main set, and then you do maybe 5 to 6 sets after that with very, very, very short rest periods. And what's beneficial about that is that you get closer to failure faster, because if you're doing 25 reps and that's what it takes to get to failure, those reps from maybe 1 to 15, yeah, they are effective. They do provide a stimulus, but those closer reps to failure from the 15 to 25 rep range where you're really pushing it, those are going to be the most effective. And if we can do every set kind of with the most effective reps only, then our workout and our reps are just going to be more efficient. So that's a good strategy when you're working out at home, in order to, one, save time, and two, just do more reps that are closer to failure and not wasting so much time or energy doing a bunch of reps that aren't close to failure. Um, the next tip is to slow down your tempo. So instead of doing like 1 second down, 1 second up for like a bicep curl, for example, maybe you do like 3 to 4 seconds down. You really try to fight gravity when you're lowering it down very slowly in a very, very controlled manner. This is just going to make each rep a little harder. So you'll be able to use less weight if you don't have, heavy enough weight available to you. Um, so it's a great strategy for that. Another tip would be to superset antagonist muscle groups. So these are muscle groups that basically work in opposite fashion. So, for example, the chest and the lats, or the chest and the back. So you can do push-ups and superset that with bent over dumbbell row. So there isn't anything super magical about this, other than because you are using lighter weights, it's easier to just not um, be able to keep your heart rate up, your body temperature up. Um, so by doing this, it just helps to keep the workout overall a little more intense, and you can save a little bit of time. And because you aren't using super heavy loads, like if you're doing push-ups, going straight from push-ups into dumbbell row, it's your push-ups aren't going to affect your dumbbell row that much, and your dumbbell row, depending on how heavy dumbbells you have, probably isn't going to affect your push-ups very much either. But if we're in the gym and we're doing like super heavy dumbbell rows, like maybe you're doing 80-pound dumbbell rows or something, if you're supersetting that with a 200-pound bench press, you're going to be super fatigued and you're handling very heavy weight, that you're going to increase your risk of injury if you're supersetting those. But at home, if you're using less weight, it's not that much of an issue. And it could be beneficial for, like I said, keeping the intensity up of your workout. The next tip is to keep track of your reps and your weight, and make sure you're progressively overloading. So hopefully this situation is only going to last um, maybe a couple of weeks before at least the gyms get opened up again. But if it takes longer, like a month, 2 months, you don't want to just be going in and doing random workouts. You want to have some way to progress week to week, whether that is maybe you just add a set in each week, or maybe you are really pushing to add in reps each week. So let's say if you're doing push-ups, and week one on a workout, maybe you do 100 total push-ups. So the next week, maybe you're going to aim for 110 push-ups and try to add in 10 push-ups, or maybe you only add in 5 extra push-ups every single week. But you want to keep track of your reps, keep track of your weight, somehow do a little more each week, because we don't know how long this is going to last. If this only lasts 1 to 2 weeks, we could just go in and do kind of random workouts, and it would be pretty beneficial and pretty good and effective with maintaining your progress. But if it's going to last longer, you need to have that kind of progressive overload in there. And then the last one is to train muscle groups more frequently. So because we're using less weight, we're able to recover a lot faster. So like you can do 100 reps of push-ups, um, and that is going to affect your recovery a lot less than if you were to do 100 reps of like a 200-pound bench press. You're going to be way more fatigued, and you're not going to be able to hit chest the day or even maybe a couple days after doing 100 reps of a 200-pound bench press. But if you're doing 100 push-ups, you could probably feel good to feel, or you could probably feel good to go ahead and do push-ups on the next day. So I would recommend maybe doing 3 to 4 full body workouts per week while you are at home, because you're able to recover a lot faster, and then you're going to be able to get in probably more volume, because you are doing the lifts more frequently. Um, and it's going to be a lot more beneficial than trying to cram in like all of your back volume in one at home workout. So that's my last tip. So those are kind of the main training tips. Hopefully I didn't go through those too fast and you were able to write those down or something. But now I'm going to touch on training geez, I cannot talk right now. I need to slow down. Now I'm going to touch on nutrition a little bit. So as far as maintaining your muscle mass, the very best thing that you can do to maintain your muscle mass is to try to maintain your body weight, period. Um, so not being so focused on trying to cut. Like I know it's getting close, it's springtime. People are going to be wanting to lose body fat and they want to get shredded for the summer. But the best scenario that you can put yourself in to maintain your muscle mass is to just try to maintain your weight, eat enough protein, because by reducing your overall intensity of your workouts, which you'll basically just do by default by going from an at the gym workout with heavy weights to at home with probably lighter weights, you're just not going to be stimulating your muscles as much. So it's going to be harder to maintain your muscle. And then if you throw in a calorie deficit into there, it's going to make it a lot harder too. So if you are, extremely, extremely worried about maintaining your muscle mass, just maintain your body weight. Stop trying to cut, put your fat loss on hold, maybe see if this passes, in a couple of weeks, and then you can get back in the gym and then start the fat loss phase again. But if you really, really, really want to cut, then just really make sure you're getting enough protein in, and you're following all those training tips that I just talked about before. But as far as protein, I would aim for sure 1 gram per pound. If you're relatively lean, you don't have to be super lean or cut, but 1 gram per pound, if you are probably somewhere in the 10 to 20% body fat range for guys. And then if for women, probably in the 20 to 30% body fat range, aim for about 1 gram per pound of protein, for sure. And yeah, just make sure the deficit is very small. Like I always recommend a range of, if you're watching your body weight each week, on average to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So if you're 200 pounds, that's about 1 to 2 pounds per week. But in this scenario, I definitely would recommend the lower end of that range. So about 0.5%. So about 1 pound on average per week if you are 200 pounds. Because if you get much higher than that, then that, along with not being able to stimulate the muscle as much with heavier loads, you're at a higher chance of losing muscle mass, basically. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, as far as boosting your immunity through nutrition, which, oh my gosh, I can't even explain how many posts I've seen over the past few days or the past week about foods to boost your immunity. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Like, if somebody is trying to sell you specific supplements, telling you that it'll boost your immunity and help you fight off the coronavirus better, you just better block that person and never talk to them again and run away from them, because it's complete BS. So obviously there are nutrients that help with immunity, but we don't get some extreme boost by taking in a bunch of these at once. It's like vitamin C, for example. A lot of people preach to really supplement with vitamin C, but vitamin C, if we have too much of it at once, we just end up excreting a lot of it in our urine anyway. The best way to build up your immunity is just through eating, the regular recommendations that we give you. Eating, whole grains, eat a variety of fruits and vegetables, 4 to 5 servings per day at least. Get adequate protein. Protein plays a role in immunity too. Um, but these things aren't going to magically boost your metabolism. Like, you don't get a huge boost if you do all of these things in one day. These things can help support a healthy immune system if you're doing them day to day over a period of time, along with getting adequate sleep. That's huge too, along with um, just keeping your mood up, which I'm going to talk a little bit later on that too. Um, you know, Depression, things like that, those can actually suppress your immune system to a point. Um, Exercise, regular exercise helps to, in the short term, right after an exercise, you actually have a um, suppressed immune system. But when you're exercising over the long term, it helps to build a healthy immune system. So doing that, but these are things that if you really wanted to boost your immune system or keep it high, you wanted to have been doing them before, not just randomly add them in right now. Like, yeah, it's probably not going to hurt, but it's not going to magically boost it either. So, see a lot of people talking about this online, and I know it's kind of like a big marketing thing now. Everyone wants to come out with their immune boosting foods list because it's going to get a lot of likes, it's going to get a lot of shares because people want to hear that. But the truth is, in order to build a healthy immune system, it's just the boring things. Eat 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables each day. Eat a variety of whole grains. Eat lean meats. Maintain a healthy body weight. Maintain um, a healthy lifestyle. Don't smoke, don't drink too much, don't or get enough sleep, things like that. Those are what's really going to make sure your immune system is up to par, I guess. So that's my little rant on that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is just your mindset during this time period. Um, so I know it's really, really easy to get into a negative mindset, get into um, thinking like, wow, like the world is basically um, all going downhill because all of these things are closed. You can't go out and do this. You can't go out and do that. Can't even go and have a party with all this free time. But um, we need to shift our mindsets to think of the positives around the situation because there are a few, um, even though there might seem like there are a lot of negatives. So um, one thing is just think about all this time that you have. Like, people who aren't able to go to work, people aren't able to go to school. I know a lot of you guys are doing online assignments and things like that, so you have time to do those. But if you really don't have any time to do anything, just take that as like a blessing and think about all of the things that you can do now. Maybe you want to pick up a good book that you've been looking at lately and work on self-development, self-growth, your mindset. Maybe you just have more time to kind of spend with your family and talk to them. You're used to being busy at work, coming home, doing things, and not really sitting down and having a meal with your family and talking to them. You have more time to do that. You have time to get better at some things that you aren't really that great at, or things that you wanted to try some new things. Um, so just really flipping that script and not focusing so much on the negative, especially negative things that are kind of out of our control right now, and focus on all of the positive things that you can control. Um, and then, the big thing is just think about how much you're not going to take this for granted, or everyday life for granted when things go back to normal. Because uh, I have the hope that things will eventually get back to normal. And just think about, you're going to go to a party and you're going to really, really appreciate that a lot more than what you possibly did before. You're going to sit down at a restaurant and you're going to be with your family there, and you're going to really appreciate being able to just go do that without all this coronavirus thing going on and not being able to do that. So I guess just you know think about all of the things that you took for granted, and don't make yourself upset by not being able to do those. But just think, when things get back to normal, I'm going to really take. Uh, take a step back when I'm in those situations and think about, um, how much I miss those during this time, and just really appreciate them now. So that's my little rant on that. So I hope these tips kind of helped you guys. We're all kind of in this together. I know I'm struggling as far as the whole not being able to work out thing. So I know a lot of you guys are, some of my clients might be, but you're not alone. We're all kind of going through this together. Um, I guess one positive too is that you have more time to spend on meal prepping and prepping healthier meals. Maybe you get a little better in the kitchen, um, and because I know time is a big issue when it comes to meal prepping and cooking healthy meals, um, in every normal regular life. So focus on the positives. Hope these tips helped you guys. If you like this episode, please share it. Please subscribe. Please like, whatever. Let someone else know about it. Take a screenshot of it. I just want to get this message out there to you guys. And yeah, and if there's anybody that you guys would love to have, or you would love for me to have on the podcast and interview, let me know, because I'd love to get more people on here and talk to them. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.